Well, hello there. Today we will be reacting to my predictions that I made before the World Cup. And as you can see, it kinda wasn't accurate. Let's jump into Group A first. So I predicted Topotic, Zigzag and Alok to get through. I don't think I did too bad in the fact that I got two correct, so Topotic, same with Zigzag. Just to make it clear that all these participants were incredibly good and they all played incredibly well, just subtle margins and multipliers did have some impacts in some of the performances, so those that didn't quite make it still played very well and should also be respected. I feel like my worst prediction of the entire thing was probably Debray not getting into the top three. And I made it clear in the prediction video is that I did not see much from Debray at that given time, and the fact he was inactive for quite a bit besides the last 2 months, I found it hard to know what to expect from him. I know that when he's on form, he's probably top 10 in the world, and I feel like in the event he definitely showed that he can be. It was also funny that Jake released a video with him literally hours, if that, after I released my predictions video, which was quite unfortunate because once I saw his moving games, Debray's moving games, and the way he played against Jake, it was honestly scary and I was really impressed from him. If I saw that video on its own before I made his predictions, I would have definitely put him in the top 2 or first even. Moving on to Group B, I predicted Trabota, Kodiak and Konzus to get into the top 3. And once again, I predicted Trabota and Konzus correctly. Konzus won the group pretty confidently, winning all his games, so I think putting him third is pretty inaccurate. The only off prediction was putting Kodiak into the top 3. I know that Kodiak's been grinding a lot, and I honestly believe that I had a lot of potential, and I just think on the day it just didn't pan out for him. The multipliers did him a bit dirty, and I don't know, just an off day in the office, and everybody knows what Kodiak's capable of, and I hope to see him next time the World Cup and get much further into the competition. Gilotris put on some great performances during the World Cup. It was very well deserved from him, and I was very happy to have met him in person. He was the very first person I shook my hands with, so big shout out to Gilotris and for making it through. Moving on to Group C. In terms of all the groups, I think Group C was the best one I predicted. Radu and Jupra I predicted to finish first and second, and they did. And it was very unfortunate for both, since it was probably the closest you can possibly have come out. He got 3 wins out of 5, and he was the only person who got knocked out with 3 points. With Mate Potato, they both had the same points. They both had the same ratio. Just that Mate beat him in head to head. But I don't think that this prediction was too bad, and well done to Mate for proving a lot of people wrong as well. And it was great meeting him in person, and he did very well to get through and survive that group. And finally, let's look at what I predicted for Group D. For some reason, this tier list does not have Jake visible, but he is the person in third that I predicted, just to make that clear. So by looking at this, I predicted Blinky correct for winning the group, and he won all the games. Harmless and Jake third, I got incorrect. First of all, Fungus, a massive shout out. He played incredibly well and seems to be one of the better players who handled the pressure the best. And the other reason, I guess, is Harmless probably just had an off day. Everyone knows when he's on form, he is top 10, top 5 player in the world, especially for the no movement and NMPZ concept. And sadly, with these LAN tournaments, not everyone's going to be on the perfect form. Everyone's going to have off days, and I think Harmless just had one of those days, and on another day I'm sure he would have proceeded much further into the World Cup, because he really is a true talent and should not be underestimated. And for Jake, I feel like he had some great performances. He had a very nice comeback against Harmless, and he should be happy with himself with how he performed on most of his games. He shouldn't beat himself too much up though. On some of the games he may have threw a few rounds, but it's the first time you've done something like this, open LAN, in front of people watching, thousands of people online. It is not easy. It's easier said than done, and I think everyone in this group should be very happy with how they performed. And also massive well done to Lenley. Once again, he proved a lot of people wrong, and it was a great underdog story of how far he proceeded, and making it to the last 8 is something to be very proud of. I feel like for the next part of this video, it's going to be very difficult to explain our predictions, because the way I approached the prediction video, the knockout system in terms of who played who, is very different, and I feel like reacting to that and comparing it to the different way it's done is kind of unfair. But I also need to quickly mention about one of the predictions, which was Zigzag against Konzus, which did not happen. For me, Zigzag was one of those underdog players. I felt like it's going to perform better than people expected, and I think he still did. But at the same time, I went with a very, very bold prediction, probably my boldest individual prediction of the whole thing. So I expected it to be kind of wrong if it did happen, but I just had a little hunch that maybe I could sneak through. But obviously, this never happened, so quite unrealistic. And I think I would have done this for all the other top players if they played Zigzag, just because of the content, you know, for the unpredictability, you never know. Consus definitely should be higher up, and they obviously won the whole thing. My idea of Consus not making it to the last day is kind of scuffed because it was just coincidental and it was where my bold prediction was. So realistically, I would have definitely put him at least getting to the last state or last four. I just have to clarify that before moving on to this final section of the video. So instead, I'm going to look at the top 4 predictions I made. So who I predicted to win, who I predicted to make the final, and who I predicted to make the semi-final. So first of all, I predicted Radu to win the whole thing, and I feel like that wasn't too bad. I feel like he got to the semi-final. The way he performed against Trabota, I feel like needs a lot more attention. He played unstoppable in my opinion. Like, Trabota is a top 10 player in the world, and the fact that Trabota won the games only took 85 or something like points off 6,000 is literally ridiculous and unheard of. So Radu definitely 100% has the potential to be a winner one day, and he has the skill already for it, in my opinion. I just think the occasion kind of got to him at the end. There were some guesses that were unexplainable, like the Malaysia-Indonesia round. But as a whole, we have seen bits of his gameplay in front of us on the stage that shows that he can win it. I also predicted Kodiak, and for me, this was my dark horse of the tournament. So for the actual tournament, I would say Fungus was the dark horse, reaching the semi-finals, but not quite make it to the final because Consus beated him. And yeah, he just, like I said before, he had an off day, so this, I can't really say much. He was just my underdog story, and it just ended up being somebody else. Just to make this clear, this is pre-perception of the tournament. I thought Fungus was an amazing player, but I did not realise how much he's improved. Players that handle the pressure the best will definitely get through much further. And even then, the way that Fungus 5k that Turkey round is just truly impressive, and it shows that he can be one of the best players in the world. I also predicted Blinky to reach the semi-final, which, to be honest, I don't think that's a bad prediction at all, because he was against Radu, and I predicted Radu to beat Blinky, but Blinky managed to pull through and put on a great performance. It was an actual really tight game, and Blinky proceeded to the final and just lost out of it from Consus. And finally, I predicted Topotic to get to the semi-final, and he definitely has the ability to get to the semi-final, no questions about it. But the other thing as well, he did have to play Trabota in knockouts before the last date, and Trabota is also another incredibly talented player, and he did have a lot more favourable rounds, I think. Some nice Indonesia guesses from Trabota. If he didn't play against Trabota, I reckon he would have proceeded much further into the competition. He just got put against another person who reached the semi-final. A massive shout out to Trabota. He played incredibly well. Shame that Radu was probably put on the best performance of the night against him. Yeah, very nice lad, and fair play for making it so far. Like I say, everybody played amazingly well and gave it their all. Pressure was a massive factor, and obviously multipliers really depended on whether they got a big round at the end, a short round at the end. It was really, really hard to say. There were some really, really close games, and I feel like everyone should, definitely be positive about it. And if it wasn't your day, believe in yourself next time, continue to grind, and everyone here has the ability to be able to take part in this again. So shout outs to all these legends. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Yeah, of course, man.